Oh my God!
Yeah.
Why did I move to China? Hi, my name is Rebekah Lorraine, and I currently live in... I got so close. Look how close I was. Okay, but this isn't where I live. This is where I live, Beijing, China. And I get asked sometimes why I decided to move to China, so I thought I would answer that question today. Ever since I was little, I have been very interested in Asian culture. It really took off in middle school. Strangely enough, this is gonna sound super nerdy, but I'm not gonna hide who I am, okay? I'm not cool. Anyway, so when I was in middle school, I got a bunch of maps, and I thought that Asian map looked cool. I also quite liked the South American map. But anyway, I just really liked the Asian map. And so then I started to research Asia more, and I was really into Japan and Korea for a long time. And to tell you the truth, sorry China, but I originally tried really hard to get into Japan. And it's actually quite difficult to get a teaching position in Japan because it's so popular. I'm actually really glad that I didn't get into Japan because as I've heard from some people, the pay that you get as a teacher in Japan and the cost of living in Japan, I would not be in the financial position that I am in now, which is still not that great of a financial position, but I currently have some savings. So yeah, I've always been fascinated with Asia. In high school, I really got into K-pop and watching Korean dramas. And when I was in college, I actually studied and got a minor in humanities where I focused on Asian culture. So I've just always been very interested in Asia in general. So after I graduated college, I started teaching in North Carolina, and I gotta say, it wasn't great. The conditions are not good. You don't get a lunch break. Well, I didn't. I will say I didn't get a lunch break, and you only have a very short planning time, which is during their one specials, and the requirement of what they expect you to get done is kind of insane, and the work hours were insane, and I still felt like I was being a terrible teacher because I felt like I couldn't do everything that they wanted me to do and have any kind of life whatsoever. And even without having any kind of life whatsoever, I still felt like I wasn't doing what they wanted me to do, and also making fun lessons that the kids liked. It was just... it wasn't why I wanted to teach. I didn't want to teach like that. So I did decide to go somewhere in Asia, and when the looking process happened, I was looking at several different places. I actually got accepted to go to Abu Dhabi and strongly considered it. I even signed the contract, but when I signed the contract, I told them that I had other interviews lined up because I actually got, not to brag or anything, but I got accepted sooner than I was thinking because they said it was a 2-week acceptance process, and I got accepted in like 3 days. So I had other interviews lined up, and I was like, okay, maybe? But then they were like, you have to sign the contract. And I was like, okay, I'll sign the contract, but just so you know, I might break it. So anyway, I got blacklisted in Abu Dhabi, but I think I'm unblacklisted now. You're like blacklisted for a year if you sign the contract and then break it. But anyway, I was also looking at Egypt. I know that's not Asia, but I was looking at Egypt. Ancient cultures are very interesting to me. I think that's why I was more interested in like Asia. And I was, like I said, when I was younger, I was also quite interested in South America, in the ancient cultures of South America. And so yeah, I was considering Egypt because of the ancient culture in Egypt. At the time when I was in college, the whole uprising happened in Egypt, and I just wasn't quite sure about going to Egypt that soon after a major uprising. Anyway, so I didn't go to Egypt, and I didn't go to Abu Dhabi. I ended up going to China. So I actually got accepted in 3 different places in China. One was a southern city, which I now regret not accepting. But at the time, I hadn't heard of it. It was Shenzhen. Yeah. Now that I know more about China, I realize that would not have been in the middle of nowhere. But at the time, I was thinking, oh, that's like the middle of nowhere. Like, I've never even heard of that city. It'll be too much of a culture shock. Maybe there won't be other foreigners there. Yeah, so now I'm like, oh, I could have been so much warmer. That's my main issue with Beijing, is the heat and the air. Other than that, I'm perfectly fine being in Beijing. Yeah, so I didn't accept that. And then the other position was in Hong Kong, which, looking at the pay versus the cost of living in Hong Kong, I also decided that maybe that wasn't a good idea, so I settled on Beijing because the pay versus the cost of living in Beijing is really nice. Also, if you remember, my fascination with Asia is more on the ancient cultures of Asia, so I was very interested to come to Beijing, where a lot of the ancient structures are. Obviously, they're spread out throughout China, but there's quite a bit right here in Beijing that you can go to. So that's why I decided to move to China. At the time, I was single. At the time that I accepted the contract, that was November, and I was going to move to Beijing in August of the next year. And at that time, I was single, so obviously I didn't have to really consult anyone about that decision. And about a month later, I met a guy, and we'll just call him Daniel. And we kind of hit it off, yeah. So then it was at about the third date, I kind of told him, I was like, just so you know, in a couple months I'm going to China. And I don't know if he really believed me. Like, I mean, he believed me, but I don't know if he really thought I was gonna go. And actually, I think a lot of my friends and family, once I met Daniel, thought I was gonna stay. And I still went to China. And for about a year, we did long distance. And then he came to visit me in China. And we went to the Great Wall. And he proposed on the Great Wall. So that was sweet, with a lot of people watching. And he was like, he said he proposed on the Great Wall because he wanted something that was gonna last. He wanted to propose on something that was gonna last as long as our love was gonna last. So after that, he moved over to China, and now we've been in China. I've been here, this is 4.5 years. I have been here for 4.5 years, and Daniel has been here for 4 years, 3.5 years. Basically, that's why we decided to move to China. Daniel kind of had not much choice in it. I mean, obviously he had a choice, but I hate that choice. The funny thing is, we moved to China, and I was thinking I was gonna see a lot of China. But once you start working in an area, it's harder to be a tourist of that area. So I think once we move back to the US, we're gonna have to come back to China as a tourist, because we still have not seen a lot of stuff that we wanted to see. But when you're working and you're busy and you're living your life and you're cooking dinner and all of that, it's hard to be a tourist. Living here, I feel like we've seen quite a bit of Beijing. I don't know that there's much more in Beijing that we need to see, but I think if we came back as a tourist, we'd want to go to Shanghai, Hong Kong. I think we would want to see more of the southern part of China and different parts of China. I saw a panda, but not in the wild. I do have a minor in Asian studies, but I was kind of convinced that I was going to see wild pandas, like that I was going to walk into a bamboo forest and see some pandas. And I was pretty disappointed. I have seen pandas, but they were in a zoo. We've seen the Great Wall, and if you guys are going to be tourists in China, I recommend you don't go to the finished part of the Great Wall, and you go to the unrestored part. So much prettier, less people, very beautiful. We enjoyed that way more than the restored part of the Great Wall. Less safe though, so, you know, there's that.